guys, welcome to another Animal Crossing video, and for today I've got my rock garden, so I thought you guys might be interested in knowing how I put together the rock garden. The final product looks really good and I'm really happy with it. So I started out here actually, which is in between Apple's house and Fauna's house, and I was gonna set them up where you see the squares, and I was just gonna kind of put like a bench, you know, somewhere probably right at the back there, and a couple of flowers eventually, and just kind of make it like a rock garden between the houses. What ended up happening is, after lots of work of trying to get the first rock to spawn properly, it spawned in a location that I had pondered putting the rock garden, but yeah, so I had actually set another area up for the rock garden, and as you see, a rock ended up there. And I clearly, with, you know, the mannequins there that I placed totally wrong, by the way, and I'll tell you that in a bit, but, you know, I was trying to avoid the rocks. And this one spawned here, and it was kind of in a good location to what I thought I could do with this area. So I rolled with it. I decided that since the first one spawned there, that was going to be the rock garden area. So as you can see in this next clip, I started lining up some designs in the areas that I don't want the rocks. So I'm aiming for, you know, the four corners, I want the rocks, and then one on each side of the left and the right. Okay, so as you can see in this next clip, we have almost all the rocks laid out. We're just missing this corner that you see me circling. And you can also see that I chose to put more design on the ground, so I wouldn't have the same corner have like two rocks beside it or something. So basically how you do this, you can see that my island looks like a complete disaster right now. Couple of mistakes I made during this. You guys can learn from my mistakes here. So I kind of knew what I needed to do. I knew that mannequins were a big part of it, and what you do is you put down the mannequins and you want to use a design that you don't care about, so that you can just delete it afterwards. Where I kind of messed up here is I decided, okay, the design that I don't care about is like the default designs you get, right? So I'm like, okay, I'll just put a bunch of these ugly green shirts out, and then I'll just delete it after. At the end, I realized you can't delete those designs. They're part of your collection forever, I guess. So I ended up having to move these one by one by one, which was, yeah, that defeated the purpose. So I'm gonna go into detail of how you do this properly, and I did footage to kind of show you guys that it does work. So don't use the default designs like I did. Go to the machine, grab any design, make sure it's not something you plan on keeping, and you're gonna use that on the mannequins. You'll put them all over the place, and then when your rock garden is done, you will be able to delete that one, and voila, all your mannequins will just vanish in one click. While the mannequins are a good way to do this, they just weren't good enough. It was taking a while. So that's why you see all these trees. I gave up on the mannequins after a while, and I just started placing designs all over my flooring wherever I thought a rock would spawn, which is pretty much anywhere, because a rock just takes up one square. So any open area on your island could have a rock on it. And so I eventually just decided that I was going to cover the whole area. So I had stopped putting the mannequins out, and I had just covered it with these trees. Unfortunately, if I were to delete the tree, it's just going to be like a white square. So I would still have to remove it. And I was totally okay with that. I just wanted the rocks to place, and I wanted to only spend a day doing this. So this whole process honestly didn't take any longer than other people were telling me they did it with just the mannequins. So this took me roughly 2 hours to do. Honestly, it was going slow until I started putting the designs on the ground. Putting the designs on the ground were actually key, and it really sped up the time. So yeah, it's a lot of work to do that, but if you're okay with that extra work, I highly suggest it. I've heard of this taking other people 3 to 6 hours by just the mannequins, and in the end, it didn't take very long to remove the trees from the ground. It was pretty quick. Granted, I do have pretty much a fully developed island, so I have a lot of things out, so that definitely helps as well. There was definitely some time travel involved, so not all your rocks will respawn together, so you need 1 day per rock. So if you're gonna do the time travel, you want to time travel however many days of rocks you're trying to spawn. If you're doing this method with fully covering the ground, it's best that you do what you want to spawn the one rock, and then you can time travel up to 1 day. That's what's recommended anyway. I did that for a bit, and then I started time traveling full weeks ahead because it just was, I wanted a chance of all of them kind of having their new spawns, right? And that is why I decided to cover the island, so that at least if I'm gonna time travel that far ahead, there's a chance that 1 or 2 do spawn in that general location. And this method did actually work in my favor. There was 1 day where 3 of them spawned right in the places I wanted them to. So it definitely does work if you're willing to cover your island. It's a lot of frustration when you think you're good, a rock spawns in a place that you didn't even think of, right? Like, you legit need to cover your whole area. It was definitely frustrating. Number one thing I'd suggest is make sure that is the area you want. Because trust me when I say you're not going to want to redo this. It's a lot of work and a lot of frustration getting them all together. So another tip that I would suggest is if you're just starting your island, don't do this yet. The more developed your island is, the easier it is going to be to place these rocks. If you have an empty island, you're going to be covering a lot of ground to do this. I know a lot of people do this so that they know to just go to that one area and they can grab all their materials. I blocked this place in eventually. I don't think I had done it yet when I did this recording, but you can see it in my streams and future videos that I do. But basically what I did is, you see me building the fence around it right now. I ended up putting another fence tighter in so that you couldn't even walk up to a rock. And then eventually I took down this big Zen fencing, which is unfortunate because I like the Zen fencing. But it seemed a little redundant to have 2 fences up. But that's what I did, just so that no one breaks the rocks, like not even myself. Before I decided to actually actively try to place these rocks, by covering the island, I'd been breaking rocks nonstop every day I logged in just to see where they'd go. So I, by habit, break rocks. So I wanted to fence this in so that I didn't accidentally do that. So it was more for me, but also for, people coming to the island as well. And yeah, so the rock garden for me is just for show. I have no intentions on taking any materials from those rocks. Also, this toilet, I had placed it there because I wanted to test something. And if you don't want to board in your rocks so that no one can get at them, you can also put a toilet in the entrance of your rock garden, and it will force, whoever passing by to sit on the toilet, which actually flushes all their fruit off of them. So afterwards, they'll have no fruit and they won't be able to break your rocks. Now, of course, that method is good, but it's also faulty. They can easily just get off the toilet and eat some fruit and then break your rocks, right? But at least if you're with friends that maybe just forgot they have fruit on them, it's good for that. And that concludes this video, so I hope you enjoyed. Good luck setting up your rock garden. Thanks everyone for watching. An extra big thanks to the members of the channel, and we will see you in the next video. Bye guys.